Hello my students, 4th grades, how are you today? Welcome again in Hadi Mohammad schools. Today's lesson is language in news, and you need to open your pupils book page 101 and 2 and your workbook page 86. And we have an outcome for today. Ask questions using will. My students, please open your pupils book page 102, language in news. As you can see here, we have a dialogue between these two boys, and here we have a box with words, which are electric, gadget, scientist, and smartphone. Let us explain these words. The first word is
electric. Electric.
Electric, something that works using electricity. ومعناها كهربائي. Electric. Now move to the next word, which is
gadget. Gadget.
Gadget, a small useful tool or machine. ومعناها أداة. Gadget. And the next word is
scientist. Scientist.
Scientist, a person who studies or works in science. Scientist بمعنى عالم. And the next word is
smartphone. Smartphone.
In this picture we can see a smartphone. Now let us repeat the words again. The first word is electric, gadget, scientist, smartphone. My students, in our class today we are going to explain how to ask and answer questions by using will. Here, as you can see, we have a dialogue. Now please hold your pencils and follow carefully with the audio.
What do you think schools will be like in 20 years?
I don't know. Maybe there won't be any schools at all.
Will children still use books?
No, they won't. I think they'll use laptops.
And who will teach them?
I think robots will.
Interesting. And will school subjects change?
I think children will do more science.
And how will they get to school?
I think they'll all have electric bikes.
Do you think school will be better than now?
Yes, it will. More gadgets and more fun.
Yes, now let's explain this dialogue. First of all, as you can see here, we have a question. What do you think schools will be like in 20 years? In this question, we used the future simple tense because here we have will. What do you think schools will be like in 20 years? So here we have to use will to ask questions in the future. I don't know. Maybe there won't be any schools at all. And this is the answer of the previous question. Maybe there won't be any schools at all. And here we have another kind of questions, which are yes or no questions. And this kind of questions begin with will. Will comes at the beginning. After that we have the subject and then the main verb, which is infinitive verb. And at the end of this question, we have to use the question mark. Will children still use books? As we say, this type of questions call yes or no questions. So we have to answer by using yes or no. And here the other boy answered, no, they won't. I think they'll use laptops. And who will teach them? Who will? Look here, we used who, which is the WH word, man. After who we use will. So in this question, which is yes or no question, we use WH word at the beginning, and here we have who. After the WH word, we have to use will, and after will, the main verb, and it should be infinitive verb. And also don't forget the question mark at the end. And the other boy answered, I think robots will. I think robots will. Interesting. And will school subjects change? This question begins with will, and as we said before, that these types of questions call yes or no questions, so we have to answer with yes or no. Will school subjects change? سوف تتغير المواد الدراسية. I think children will do more science. So this is the answer. And who will they get to school? This is WH word. And as we said, after WH word, we have to use will, then the subject. After that, the main verb, which is infinitive verb, and the complement of the question. Who will they get to school? And at the end, we have a question mark. I think they'll all have electric bikes. Here also in the answer, we used will. They'll, which means they will all have electric bikes. And here we have another question. Do you think school will be better than now? This is a question about your opinion about the schools in the future. Do you think هل تعتقد school will be better than now? أن المدارس سوف تصبح أفضل من وقتنا الحالي. He answered with yes, because this question began with will. Yes, it will. More gadget and more fun. As we said, my students, here we have two types of questions, WH questions and yes or no questions. The first type of questions began with WH words. For example, where, what, why, when. And after the WH word, we have to use will, because we are asking about something could happen in the future. And after that, we have to use the subject and then infinitive verb. And the next type of questions, which are yes or no questions. In this type, we have to begin our question with will. Well, after will, subject, and then verb infinitive, then the complement of the question. So these are the forms of writing questions by using will. Now move to the next activity. Circle the word with you agree with, then write 2 more sentences about the future. Number 1, I think. So here we are going to talk about the future by using I think at the beginning. I think أنا أعتقد there will or won't be schools in 20 years. What do you think, my students, about this idea? Do you think that there will be schools in 20 years or there won't be schools in 20 years? So here you have to answer according to your opinion. سوف تجيب عزيزي الطالب بناء على رأيك. هل تعتقد أنه سوف يوجد مدارس بعد 20 عام؟ If you agree with this idea, you have to use will. If you disagree with this idea, you have to use want. I think children will or won't use books in 20 years. Also here you have to answer according to your opinion. If you agree, you have to circle will. If you disagree, you have to circle want. Number 3, I think children will or won't use the internet to do their homework in 20 years. هل تعتقد أن الأطفال سوف يقومون باستخدام الإنترنت لكي يقوموا بحل واجباتهم بعد 20 عام؟ So if you agree, you have to circle will. If you disagree, إذا لم تكن موافق على هذه الفكرة, you have to circle want. And here, my students, you have to add 2 more sentences. Remember that you have to begin with I think. For example, I think there will or won't be libraries in 20 years. My students, you have to write another sentence by using I think. And remember that you have to use will or want to talk about possible actions that could happen in the future. Now move to the third activity. Think about the future. Make a new dialogue. Here we have to write and to make a new dialogue as the previous one. For example, what will libraries be like in 20 years? Maybe there won't be any libraries. Do you think libraries will have books? No, there won't be any more books. My students, try to make a new dialogue and don't forget to send me your answers. Now please open your workbox page 86. Exercise number 1. Write the words in the correct order to make questions and sentences. Here we have to order these words to make a question. Look at the first one. Here we have will in 20 years be what, like, and schools. Here we have to begin with the WH word, which is what, and after what we have to use will, and then the subject, which is schools. What, will, schools, and then the verb infinitive, which is be, like in 20 years. And look, here we have a question mark, so the word with the question mark should be at the end, and the WH word should be at the beginning. Now move to the next one. We have will, I, books, online, be, think, all. Here we have to order this sentence. As you can see, we don't have a question mark, so this is a sentence. Firstly, we have to begin with I think all books will be online, and the word with full stop should be at the end. And you can follow all these forms. Here, as you can see, we have form of WH questions, and this is the form of yes or no questions, and this is the form of writing a sentence by using will and want. Now move to number 3. Teach, will, children, who, the. As you can see, here we have a question mark, so this is a question, and here we, as you can see, we have who, which is WH word, so we have to begin with who. After who will teach the children. As you know, the word with a question mark should be at the end. So this is the third one. Now move to number 4. More, think, languages, children, do, will, and I. Here we have to begin with I think. Children, the subject is children, will do more languages. My students, you can do the rest of the items and check your answers from the video. Now move to the second activity. Write questions and sentences. Here, my students, you have to write questions and sentences according to the beginning of each one of these items. As you can see here, we have the first one began with children. So we have to use the form of yes or no question by using will at the beginning, then the subject, which is children, and the verb, which is go, and then the complement of the question, and at the end we have to use the question mark. Number 2, think children use tablet at school. This is a sentence, and as you can see here, we don't have a question mark, so we have to use the form of writing a sentence. I think children will use tablets at school. And don't forget that we have to use a full stop at the end of the sentence. Number 3, we have scientists make more electric gadgets. Here we have a question mark, and at the beginning we don't have WH word, so we have to use either a yes or no question, which began with will. Will scientists make more electric gadgets? So we have to write the question by using this form, and also don't forget the question mark at the end. Number 4, what subjects? Here we have children and study, and here also we have a question mark, and remember that at the beginning we have WH word, which is what. So we have to use the form of WH questions. What subjects? After that, will children study? And at the end, we have a question mark. Now, my students, you can complete the rest of the items and check your answers from the video. Dear students, move to the third activity. Complete the dialogue. Here we have a dialogue, and we have to complete this dialogue by using the previous forms. A. What do you think cities will be like in 20 years? Here we write a question by using what do you think cities will be like in 20 years. My students, you can write the question according to the answer. So you have to pay attention with the answer firstly to write a good question. I think they'll be cleaner and faster than now. So you can use this information to write your question. What do you think cities will be like in 20 years? Now move to the next one. Here we have how. Now let's read the answer. I think a lot of people will travel by electric bike. Here we have to use this information to write our question that begins with how. How, after how, will people will travel in 20 years? And here we have a question mark. Now move to number 3. Look at the answer. Here we have yes. Yes, so we have to use yes or no questions. Yes, there will, but I think they will be flying cars. And here we have to use the form of yes or no questions, which begin with will, after will, subject, which is there, will there, and then the verb infinitive, which is be. Will there be any car in 20 years? My students, you can complete the rest of the items, and also you can check your answers from this video. My students, that's all for today. Thank you very much for your watching and see you next class. Goodbye.